Hey guys, what's up? RossDunneIE. Shout out to my boy Evan LeFavor. So last night Ted Cruz pieced the fuck out of the race. Managed to punch his wife in the fucking face as he did it. Not really sure what sort of... He's not really a person, is he? He ain't really a real human being. He's like a lizard man who got his face... who's stuck in human skin, but he's not comfortable with it, you know? I mean, you'd imagine most lizard people would try the fit on first before they got around to really deciding to run for president. Realistically, when you consider the fact that you've got like Donald Trump now and Bernie's pretty much done, so you've got Hillary on the Democratic side, it's kind of like Kang and Kodos for president, really, from that episode of The Simpsons. That's what it feels like now. But yeah, fucking Cruz piecing the fuck out pretty much has the GOP in like full panic mode. It was pretty interesting. Lindsey Graham said that they were fucked, basically. It's not really... Lindsey Graham doesn't really have a lot of room to talk shit, because he's a hypocritical fucknut, but that's that. So this pretty much just leaves Trump, and he's probably gonna snag the nomination now. I don't like Donald Trump. I haven't liked him since he came on the stage. People have selective amnesia when it comes to Donald Trump. It's real fucking weird. It's like the sorts of people who were laughing at the orange Cheeto covered man of butter who was on The Apprentice suddenly now don't think that he's that person anymore. Much like the Beyonce video I made yesterday, which was fucking shouldn't have done that, but he's still that guy. He's still the fucking human butterball covered in Cheeto dust. He's still that motherfucker. And people call Trump a racist and a fascist. I don't think Trump is either of those things realistically. If you look at his history as a person, there have been some comments that, you know, he said before that he didn't want quote-unquote black people at his serving it at his meals or at his restaurant. I can't verify that. I mean, that's just a meaningless quote you can drag from somewhere. Although you can Google quotes from Donald Trump, which are pretty fucking dodgy, if you go back and have a look. But again, I don't think Trump is necessarily a fascist, as everyone keeps calling him. And in fairness, when you keep calling him a fascist, you're kind of losing some speed and some traction when you keep doing that. It's a really stupid fucking thing to say. It's like this thing where where you keep calling everybody a racist for really inconsequential shit that realistically doesn't matter and isn't really racist. It starts losing its edge. And in fact, that's true. That's realistically, I think, an observable thing right now, is people have used the word racist so often and so much that it's losing its weight. It's losing its gravitas. But the same thing can be said of people repeatedly calling Donald Trump a fascist. It's losing its gravitas. It's losing its weight. I don't think he's a fascist, and I don't think he's a racist, but I do think he dog whistles for them. Now, I've said dog whistle before, and dog whistle is sort of a thing that's coming up, and it's being said a lot. In my opinion, illegal immigration is dog whistle for racism. It's a way of saying something that isn't racist, but it picks up pretty quickly in the minds of racists and people who generally swing that way. Just a quick heads up. Illegal immigration in the US is not a serious thing. It's realistically, it's not as big a problem as it's consistently being made out to be. Rich motherfucking capitalists running away with all your money is a serious problem, but it's a little too, you know, that's a little too hard to kind of tackle, and it's not emotionally satisfactory to attack the bourgeoisie. It's just not. It doesn't work in the same way that attacking a racial minority works. It doesn't trigger the same emotional centers. And not only that, but given the penchant for capitalism that the West has anyway, and how much of a glorified system it is, it feels like when you're attacking the rich and powerful, you're attacking our path that could be possibly available to you should you want to become rich and powerful, because you want to become rich and powerful. Everyone wants to become fucking rich and powerful. But it feels like when you attack that, it's not working the same way that like racist tribalism really sort of hits on that nugget at the center of the heart. Not only that, but there's a history and a culture of celebration of the rich, because it means achievement. At least it does for a lot of people. I mean, you can achieve and become rich, but as we all know, the vast majority of wealth and wealthy people have inherited their wealth, and that's especially true in Western Europe, and it's partly true in the States as well. So wealth is something that, you know, realistically people feel that they should aspire to, and it shouldn't necessarily be attacked. But that's a tangent, that's a whole other thing, and I should make a video about that all in itself. But Trump says things that that light up switches and activate in people's brain that really appeals to that kind of tribalism. And interesting, if you look at the GOP's history over the last 10 years, it's actually a narrative they've tried to stop. It's a narrative they've tried to move away from. They've tried to be less involved with things like legal immigration. George Bush granted plenty of amnesty. Reagan granted plenty of amnesty. Obama is as well, but that's a whole other thing. So it's a conversation and a topic that the GOP has tried to shift away from quietly. In the same respect, they tried to shift away from quietly some of the more religious elements. Ted Cruz represented the last surge of evangelism, and he's failed now too. The only realistic sort of moderate Republican, and I say moderate in brackets, is Kasich. But obviously he has very little chance now of actually grabbing the nomination. Looks like it's going to be Trump all the way. I don't think that he's going to be as bad for America as a lot of people on the left think he is. Now, I consider myself a leftist. I consider myself a progressive individual, but I really don't think that Donald Trump is going to... First and foremost, he ain't going to build any walls. A lot of people really need to get that through their heads. Donald Trump is not going to build a wall. It is not going to be realistic. He might do a groundbreaking ceremony. He might spend a few $1 trillion on erecting a fence. A few $1 billion. Each children would be a bit much. He might erect a fence. Realistically, there's not going to be any great big brick wall with gold plates on it and gold blocks and gold signs that says Trump, like that tacky ass motherfucking shit he's always doing anyway. It's not going to happen. But I do think that it's possible, and I've read what little he's given out, because Trump has the vocabulary of a 5-year-old, and his policies are very poorly outlined on his website. I actually read his book, I think it was Crippled America. That is nonsense. That whole book is complete nonsense. He talks like a moron. It's effectively transcribed from the way he speaks. I would imagine he just sat down with a ghostwriter one afternoon and just shit this out in like 2 hours. I can guarantee he did that. But either way, I do think it's possible that Trump may put together some sort of public works program. That doesn't seem impossible to me. It seems like it's something he might actually do. He may have some sort of immigration reform. I think it's possible that Trump may actually make it easier for Europeans to enter America. That's something that he has actually discussed a long time ago. He said he didn't really understand why it was so hard for effectively the ancestors of America, which is ironic considering Mexicans, to enter the country. He didn't see why it was such a big challenge for people from Europe, specifically, basically white people, to get into America. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing, but you know, it's what it is. So as I said, I don't think that he's a fascist. I think that realistically he's got some good ideas in a lot of ways. It's just his problem is his supporters. His base are the most obnoxious motherfuckers on the planet. If you're a member of, you know, if you support Trump and you post on internet forums and image boards, there's like a solidly high percentage chance you're a total dick. You know what I mean? Like, his supporters are fucking intolerable. They really are. A lot of the times when I end up having to quote Trump to them, it just doesn't register to them. Like, you can say, well, I've heard say, well, Trump's not really racist. He's never really said racist things. You quote something that he said that is necessarily racist, and it doesn't matter. Whatever, I don't care. So it ties into The alt-right, which I'm going to try and make a video about as well. Sargon made a video about the alt-right recently, and he got shit on hard for it, so I'm probably going to get the exact same thing. But, as I said, realistically, and in my opinion, I don't think Trump is the ideal candidate for any Western nation or any developed nation. I think he's a fucking lunatic. He is a butterball motherfucker who's covered in Cheeto dust. He is still the guy from The Apprentice. Everyone seems to forget that, no idea why. But he's not a fascist, and he's not really a racist, but he is a dog whistle for fascists, and he is a dog whistle for racists, and people are just making him to be whatever they want to be. He's a populist candidate. That's the reality. That's what he is. That's who he is. And that's my 5 cents on the issue. I'm Ross Dunn. Peace.